if you work because you wanted to, not because you had to. I remember when every decision I made was dictated by my job that I needed to survive. One of the things that I love most about my life is that I get to decide what I show up for. And let me tell you, that kind of freedom is worth everything, okay? If you desire that same level of autonomy, I want to personally invite you to my free training, How to Make Work Optional. It's about building a step-by-step plan to use real estate as a tool to help you create the life that you desire. I'm breaking down the exact steps you need to replace your income with real estate, how much you actually need to become work optional, and lastly, the 3 different paths to financial freedom. If you've been waiting for a sign that it's time to start building your exit plan, this is it, y'all. This live training is taking place March 25th at 7 p.m. Eastern. If you can't make it, no worries. We'll send you the replay. I want you to tap the link in the show notes right now to save your seat and start taking control of your financial future. All right, see you later. Girl, that's good. That's good. Okay, now that I have you, isn't that conversation so good? Aren't you ready to take it to the next level? If you're here and you've been binging all my YouTube episodes and you are ready to buy your first or next investment property, but you just don't know where to start, you just need help to figure out what exactly do I need to do based on my specific situation to figure out how to get to the next level. If that is you, I invite you, along with all of my mentees, to join us in my Pathway to Purchase Your First or Next Investment Property program. This program is so amazing. This is how you are actually able to work with me directly. Here's the beautiful part about this program. You pay one time and that's it. It comes with lifetime access. Everybody repeat, lifetime access. There is no renewal fees, no annual fees. You get access directly from coaching from me. Every 2 weeks, you're going to be able to chat with me, figure out what your specific situation is. I'm going to be able to help you overcome it. Plus, you have access to over 50 on-demand trainings that's going to walk you through everything. If you're just now learning about what all this real estate stuff means to I want to actually scale and buy my next multifamily property. It's going to teach you everything in between. And here's the best part. With the 50 plus on-demand courses, you aren't just learning from me. You're learning from the best and the best in the industry as well. You're learning from Dr. Joe about property management. You're learning from Dominique about out-of-state investing. You're learning from my top contractors on how to work with contractors. This program is so amazing. I even include checklists and SOPs and downloads. So if you buy a property and you have a tenant and you don't know what to do, guess what? There's a checklist for that. You're getting ready to do a renovation and you need a contractor agreement, guess what? There's a contractor agreement with that. I'm able to basically just provide everything for you. Why start from scratch when you have access to a program that is done for you? You have the support you need and you have the community. I want you to join me in the Pathway to Purchase Your First or Next Investment Property program. And guess what? Because you listen to this podcast, I'm going to give you a little discount. If you go to the link in the bio or onlylivingit.com and you enroll today and hit P2P500, I'm going to give you $500 off. Yes! I look forward to seeing you on the next call. Come join me. I had already established my credibility as a knowledgeable person. By the time I actually had my license, I already had clients. And that's because I wasn't afraid to open my mouth. A person's wealth is determined by their assets, investments, and things that they own. I say true wealth is about how you live it. Your girl is back. Welcome to Wealth Within Reach. Welcome back to another episode of Wealth Within Reach. And we are back talking about how I quit my W-2 income to go into full-time entrepreneurship, investor, etc. So some of you are here and you are intrigued. You're like, can this really happen? Maybe you're like, I want to control my own time. This isn't working, and you're exploring. And maybe some of you have set a goal and you are in the process of transitioning to somehow quit your W-2 income, okay? And, it happens for different people in different ways. If you are just watching this episode, you have to go back to last week's episode, because last week's episode, I give you context of how I came to the decision of quitting my job, what influenced that decision, how did I know that I needed to consider going into business for myself, and what that looked like. Like I said last week, I did not at all whatsoever think that I was going to be a business owner. That may shock you, but it is true. Okay. I thought I was going to be living that 65 life, corporate baddie, the whole thing. Okay. And now I am almost 10 years at this point of being a full-time entrepreneur and have a full-time family. Go back and watch last week's episode. It's going to give you context for this one. So today's episode, we are breaking it all down. How exactly did it happen? How did I make the transition? And also, disclaimer, I will probably do some things differently if I could go back. But this is where we are today. Because unlike you, I didn't have a Wealth Within Reach podcast. I did not have a Owning and Living It community. I did not have anyone that I knew necessarily that could walk me through in detail how we will do in the Owning and Living It community. Thankfully, though, I knew someone that had made the transition. Okay. When I finally decided I want to do something in real estate, I wasn't sure what. I knew that I can get my real estate license and that I was good at sales. Like, I really enjoy people. I had been a banker previously. I did really well, really liked, working with people and helping them uncover their needs. So I knew that I probably can do a real estate agent job pretty well. But for some reason, I knew that that was just a tool to ultimately get to where I wanted to be. And ultimately, the goal was to be able to impact people in my community through real estate. That was the goal. How I was going to get there, had no idea. But at the end of the day, I made a list of here are the things that I needed to be able to do to make the transition and to somehow get to that end goal of impacting people through real estate. I had to figure out how to help make some money. Okay. And I had just had a friend who had a couple years prior to that also worked in the banking industry, and she got her real estate license and was a real estate agent full time. So it's like, okay. And I had already looked up how much agents make. And I was like, okay, I have helped introduce these 10 people to my new neighborhood, and I referred them to this real estate agent, and they all bought houses. And I added up how much those purchase prices was on those houses. And then I figured out what that commission was. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was $100,000 with 10 people. So even if I just sell 10 houses, that is more than enough to help take care of my family. So that was the goal. Just try to sell at least one house a year. And we were good. While I kind of figured out exactly how I wanted to, make money in real estate. I had just began learning about investing. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I read Millionaire Next Door. I had just discovered Bigger Pockets. I was all in. And my husband, at the time, he's working for a nonprofit. He's running an after-school program. He is deeply pouring into the community. But he's also like, yeah, that sounds great. Okay, cool. Like, he's very supportive. Now, my mama was like, I'm sorry, what you about to do? You about to do what? You about to leave your job? Oh, no. You can just do that on the side. What you got to leave your job for? There was some opposition that I was experiencing that I had to really put my big girl panties on and just kind of keep it moving. But when we finally committed to making a transition to, I'm going to get my real estate license, here are the exact steps that I took in order to make that transition. Step 1, I phoned a friend. I found a mentor. So I mentioned to you that I had a friend that had made the transition, and I just called. I said, hey, I seen that you are now a real estate agent. I'm really interested into going into real estate. I just want to pick your brain, ask you some questions about what the transition was like for you. Are you free? She was like, yeah, cool. So she told me a few things. She was very helpful, by the way. And she wanted me to know these really important things so that I wouldn't make mistakes that she had made. She told me that it was really important to get rid of any credit card debt that you had. Like, as an entrepreneur, you need to be as lean as possible. You want to figure out a way to reduce your expenses. You want to have some savings. Like, she spelled out things to me. And the first thing for me, she told me was, you got to get rid of any credit card debt that you had. We had, at the time, I think we had maybe like $14,000 in credit card debt, and we would like pay it off. I would get a bonus and then we'd pay it off and it would go back, and it was this whole little cycle. And she was like, you need to pay that off. So we were able to pay off some credit cards. And again, this is like, I didn't just decide that I was going to leave my job and then quit the next month. No, don't do that. That's reckless. Okay. Again, for me, I've heard of people doing that, but I had 3 kids under 5. We had a husband. And at the time, I was the one making the most money. Okay. So it was a big risk to just quit my job. So this was something that we prepared for. And at the time, we had our one property and we house hacked. We rented out a room in our basement. It was not just job pissing me off, I'm leaving. No. Actually, quite the opposite. I really enjoyed my job and the people I work with. So she said, get rid of consumer credit card debt. You need to be able to be lean and mean. And credit card debt has a lot of high interest. Okay. So what we did was we actually did a debt consolidation loan, because at the time, our credit card interest rate was like 20-some%. We got a debt consolidation loan that paid off all of our high interest credit card debt, which actually shoots up your credit score. And then we were able to take those like low monthly payments into one fixed payment, and was able to, pay off that loan pretty quickly because we had a lower interest rate. It was fixed. Just like any extra money we had, we just put towards paying that loan off. And so that's the first thing we did. Some other advice is that she said, you want to make sure you have at least 6 months worth of living expenses. I don't remember what our monthly expenses were at the time, but they were probably under $5,000 at the time. The goal was to be able to have 6 months of living expenses. So this was the goal. Did I get there? No. Before I quit? No. We got to at least 3 months worth of living expenses, but the goal was to get to 6 months. So we did pay off the debt. I still had student loan debt, and we had a mortgage and things like that. Okay. And then she was like, the last piece of advice she gave me was like, you just need to begin learning about being an agent, because getting your license does not teach you how to be a real estate agent. And that's a whole episode I can do on, because it's so true. So I did that. It took some time. It took some months. I got my real estate license. I actually got my real estate license online, because when was I going to have time to go to somebody's classroom? So I was working during the day. Again, I'm the manager, so I got to get there early, and I'm generally the last person to leave. And then I had 3 kids under 5. Honestly, those days were a blur to me, because it's just like, get the kids together. And like, I feel for y'all out there. Let me know in the comments if you have young kids, because I remember that world. The kids don't want to go to sleep. Okay. They constantly running out the room. They're asking you questions that they know they ain't got no questions asking you. Why are you asking me this question? Go to bed. Like, that was the season I was in. Okay. And then when they finally went to sleep, maybe, hey babe, how you doing? Let me get on my computer to get these 75 hours in of getting my real estate license. So for me, because I didn't have a lot of time, it only took me 30 days. I mean, any extra time I got, I was trying to get my real estate license. And I got my license. Actually, the first time I took my test, I failed, which was a whole nother thing. I failed, had to go back. I did a cram course. I took one weekend where 8 to 5, we just learned a bunch of information. And then I took my test again, and I finally passed. And at the time, I had already started telling people, I'm getting my real estate license. I'm getting my real estate license. Again, context, I moved to this new neighborhood. I'm telling everybody about my neighborhood. I started a blog about my new neighborhood, Urban West. I think it was like Urban West ATL. And so they're learning all these new things, and they're like, oh my gosh, I want to work with you. I had already established my credibility as a knowledgeable person before I even had my real estate license. So by the time I actually had my license, I already had clients. And that's because I wasn't afraid to open my mouth. I was still working my 9-to-5 job, but I was really focusing on growing my passion. Hold on, wait. Did I see you at the Owning and Living Experience last year? You didn't come? Let me show you what it was all about. There is nothing else like this. This is the only real estate experience that's made for us. Yeah, you and me. And not just you and me, brown people, faith-driven people. I mean, not only was it an experience, but they learned tangible advice. Plus, we had an amazing time. And guess what? I don't want you to experience any more FOMO. I want you to be there in the building this year. And I'm about to drop all the details for the Owning and Living Experience 2025, and you will not want to miss this. Plus, I am gonna offer an exclusive sweet discount for the early bird folks who grab their tickets. So if you don't want to miss out this year, and if you want to take advantage of a very, very good bonus, I'm going to need you to do this right now. I'm going to need you to go to the episode show notes today, right now, join the wait list so that you don't miss out when tickets drop. I got it? Let's do it now. Now let's head back to the episode. I finally got my real estate license, and right off the bat started working with clients in my own neighborhood. I didn't even feel like I needed to learn all of Atlanta. I just focused on learning my neighborhood really, 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 really well. And I just started selling a bunch of houses in my neighborhood. So I leveraged learning about my neighborhood through my blog, attending neighborhood meetings. I helped to start an education advocacy group in my neighborhood with some other neighbors, and somebody will be like, hey, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I actually sell real estate. And then got business, like literally, like just being outside and being a good person and sharing information, being helpful. And then next thing you know, it's a struggle. I have my team. I am managing my team, but I'm also selling a lot of real estate. And it became to be a really hard struggle. And I was like, okay, I have something here and this is not working. Like, I'm not able to operate in integrity with either situation because I got to tell them to wait to write this offer until when I get off of work. And I can't be doing showings across town while I'm at lunch, right? It became to be like a bit of a compromise. And so that's when I knew, okay, I don't have my 6 month worth of living expenses, but I got to start preparing to potentially make the shift earlier than what I anticipated. And so one of the first things I did was I signed up to attend a business workshop. I don't even know how I found out about this workshop, but it was like $47. I went on my lunch break and it was like Small Business 101. And they just laid out, like, here are the fundamentals of owning a business. Because again, I had never owned a business. I had never wanted to own a business. I was not into any of that. I didn't know what to do. So it was hard to figure out where to start. So I signed up during my lunch break. I attended a business workshop. And I remember one of the most valuable things that workshop told me, it taught me the value of my time. I remember it like it was yesterday. It said, okay, you're going to have a list of tasks that you have to do as a business owner. And as a business owner, in order for you to be successful, you have to keep the revenue coming, right? You have to like focus on that. If you have a list of tasks and you are doing the $10 an hour task versus focusing on the $1,000 an hour task, then if you're just focused $10 an hour, but you're not able to do the $1,000 an hour task, then you're going to be out of business. So you have to focus on doing the $1,000 an hour task and delegate the $10 an hour task. And I learned that in that workshop, in that $50 workshop. And also in that workshop, I met 3 other people who were also trying to start a business too. And I took my friend with me to that workshop. And so we all went to lunch afterwards. I was out here, again, I'm the manager, so I don't necessarily have to be back in an hour, but I'm out here attending the business workshop, going to lunch afterwards. Like, I'm an entrepreneur. I am not an entrepreneur. I got to get back to work. And that's how I knew, okay, I think it was time to make the transition. And did I have my 6 months worth of living expenses saved? No. Did I have all the credit card debt paid off? Yes. Did I have a clear plan of exactly how I was going to run my business and eventually get to my goal? No. but I had a desire to do something different. I had a willingness to hustle and make it happen. And I told myself at the end of the day, if this doesn't work out, I can always go back. I'm going to leave I'm going to leave this job in a way that if I ever needed to come back because this didn't work out, they would welcome me back. And that was my goal. And that's what I did. Told my boss that I was going to be leaving, started my own job. I gave a 30-day notice to make sure that they had everything they needed before I transitioned. If you listen to the previous episode, prior to this, I have been applying for jobs, getting declined, okay? And so let me tell y'all what happens when you're being obedient to the Lord and you on the right track. Let me tell you what happens. This has literally happened to me multiple times, okay? Let me tell you what happened. So I finally decide I'm going to make the transition. I'm going to take the leap. I've told my job I'm leaving. I put the plan in place. I'm making the transition. All the things. I make the transition. Then what happens? A week later, I get a phone call. Hey, how you doing? It's so-and-so. I know you came and shadowed me last year and, you applied for this job and you didn't get it at the time. Well, if you're still interested, the opportunity is available and we could just send you an offer. Are you still interested? True story. This happened to me. And so again, I'm not in a place where I'm like killing it yet. I am still trying to figure out, trying to hustle, trying to find clients. It was so easy to be like, yeah, sure, I guess I can try it. It was so easy to just say yes. And you know what I said? I said, you know what? Thank you so much for thinking of me. But no, I'm actually not interested at this time. But I'll let you know if I change my mind. And wow, what if I had not said that? What if I had said yes because it was the opportunity that was just dangling in my face and I had said yes? I think about so many people who I ended up helping to sell their house or buy their house, or now who are part of the Owning and Living It community, or just so many opportunities, being able to take my kids to travel the world, being able to spend extended time, various places, to be able to, we've even helped be able to support someone through college, and just all the ways that we've been able to really use our wealth to impact our community in a whole nother way that I had no idea that was in my cards. Because what if I had not said yes? Because I was afraid, because I didn't know what was on the other side of the door, because I didn't have everything figured out, because I didn't have all the money that I needed to have. What if I had said no? I love to tell this story because there is somebody out here where the next big problem that we have, one of y'all out here and y'all have the solution to the problem. Your obedience is not just about you. God has put a burden on your heart. He has put something in you to help solve. And it's just waiting on you. It's waiting on you to say yes. And there's a whole group of people that could potentially be blessed by your yes and by your obedience. And I think it's just really important to understand when thinking about making the transition, it's just really, really important that you continue to surround yourself with other people who have done that you prepare, that you don't just recklessly just be out like, deuces, I'm leaving, and that you have a plan. If I could look back and think about what I would have done differently, there are a couple things I would have did differently. And I'm going to tell y'all so y'all don't miss this step. One thing I would have done absolutely different, because I knew my goal was to create a business, but also build a real estate portfolio. I would have leveraged my W-2 before just leaving. Okay. I would have bought a few properties with my W-2 income, because it's much easier to buy when you're first starting off, when you have your W-2 income. I definitely would have got a home equity line of credit, would have got a HELOC before I left. I would have just prepared a little bit differently to set myself up. Like, because I was looking at the plan replacing my income. Like, okay, how much money do we need per month? How many houses does that take to sell? Okay, cool. Got that. I was looking at debt. I was looking at these really important things, but I didn't look at having my money team in place. I ended up having a bookkeeper really early, which was so helpful to me. We're going to actually talk about that in another episode. I didn't get caught in the tax situation like there's so many new entrepreneurs get, or investors, where you make a whole lot of money and all of a sudden you're like, oh shoot, I got a $50,000 tax bill. I never experienced that, thank God. But I definitely would have lined up my financing team and leverage my W-2 before making a transition. And another thing I did do that I absolutely would recommend to you guys is I had a conversation with my family early on, letting them know that I was doing something new. And so a part of doing something new is that it takes you longer to figure it out based on the education that I had received. Starting a business was going to be difficult, and it was going to take more time and more hours when you're in the startup phase. So I actually had a conversation with my husband, and I said, hey, do you support me in this? This is going to take more time away from the family. Here is what the goal is going to be, though. I'm going to set a goal to hire an assistant in a year, but I just want to make sure we're on the same page. And so we had a conversation to make sure we were on the same page, so that I had his blessing, so that I was able to make the transition feeling guilt-free for sometimes having to work until 11 o'clock at night to get something done. So that was really important. Surrounding myself and really being intentional about staying connected with other people who had also made that transition as well. Just really being intentional, even if it's a situation where it's like I had people that I could reach out to, but they were just there. But it wasn't like, hey, okay, we had lunch. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and set up lunch for next month. I didn't do that. And so I felt like I was very much on an island by myself in the beginning, because I was just figuring out on my own. So I definitely would recommend finding other people who have taken a similar leap that you can stay connected with, that can help you to troubleshoot some of the things that you just don't know as you're making the transition. That is my step-by-step how I made the transition. What's so crazy is the goal was to sell like one house a month, and I sold like 35 in the first year. So yeah, that worked. So if you've been listening to this and you're thinking about the transition of W-2 to full-time entrepreneurship, whether it's investing or not, I need you to share this with 3 friends who you've also been kind of having a conversation with. Let me know, like, what are y'all processing through? What are you thinking? Join our free Facebook group and let's kind of continue the conversation over there. I love this so much. Thank you so much again for listening to another episode. Be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss one. And if you are listening on Apple or Spotify, please leave me a 5-star review. I appreciate it so much. We want this platform to be amplified, okay? We want more people like us to hear these stories, because we out here, okay? So please share, please rate, and I will see you next week. Bye. Hey friend, have you been enjoying this podcast and you're like, okay, Erica, how can I connect with you and other of your amazing guests that are on the podcast? You can do that within the Owning It and Living It Facebook group. I have the Owning It and Living It Facebook group to help to foster community with other like-minded real estate investors. Folks are sharing advice, I'm sharing tips, and we're fostering community so we can help take our real estate investments to the next level. If you are ready to do that, I want you to join the Owning It and Living It Facebook group. You can go to the link in the bio to join today.